I have two things that I want to ask you about. The first one is about the physical expansion of the universe and our part in that. And the second thing is about my mother. You've said that we have the power to create worlds. You've also said that we haven't been able to put enough dirt together to create another Earth.
But you are not creating worlds from your physical point of view, but everything that you are living as a result of being here is causing that kind of expansion.
So our scientists and astronomers tell us that they are able to measure the actual physical expansion of the universe. And what I'm wondering is...
Well, they can't. They're not even coming close. Because they're looking at what's manifested, not at the energy stream. In other words, it's like saying, I understand life by looking at someone in a physical body. They can tell when you're dead and they can tell when you're alive. In other words, they know when the life force is gone, but they have no sense of it beyond that. In other words, it's a very scanty view that you're seeing as you're measuring things in terms of manifestation. You have to begin looking and feeling and sensing the energy of things before you begin to see.
Yes, and so is this Earth the only Earth where the human experience is happening?
Well, you used the term human, but there are many other leading edge environments such as this. Many. Uncountable.
And is our thought collectively creating those?
Well, it could be, but here's the thing. When you make a decision to come forth into this time-space reality, it's because you are invested here in the sense that it's the basis that you are a part of. And so, while we have to say that all things are possible, when you make a decision to participate again from your broader non-physical perspective, the decisions that you make bring you to the environment in which you have already been creating. And the thing that makes this a little bit difficult to answer in a way that really feels meaningful to you is that as we're visiting with you here in your physical form, we are finding words that must be described in this physical setting in order to appeal to your consciousness here, while it's the non-physical part of you that is actually creating and understanding those kinds of things. The easiest way for us to say that is more and more as you, in your physical form, begin choosing thoughts that are downstream, so that you tune yourself into vibrational alignment with who you really are. Then you begin to be able to see all things through the eyes of Source. And that's why sometimes enlightened people get glimpses, but it's a rare one of them that is able to tune themselves, nor would you want to tune yourself so that you had full, fathomable awareness of those other dimensions. It's sort of like they're zigging while you're zagging. And so we know it is not a satisfying answer to say it's not something that you are intending, but you really are not intending because everything is vibrational. And in the same way that you can't listen to one radio station that's on one frequency while your tuner is set to another, it's the same sort of thing. The vibrational frequencies vary enough that you really are zigging while the other is zagging. And then when you add to that your awareness that it is all vibrational interpretation, there's not some place that you're going to discover, then you begin to understand that it really is about tuning yourself to a vibration that gives you the vivid translation of something. And then it begins to all make sense. At the core of all physical dimensions is non-physical source. And the closer you get to vibrational alignment with that, then the more accurately you will begin to understand the broader view. But in the same way, focus is what it's all about. Focus is so satisfying. And so here you all are with all of the myriad of possible things that you could be doing today. Here we are co-creating together. And with some reasonable effectiveness, we are choosing similar thought patterns and focusing upon subjects. And people are focused and concentrated together. And we are having somewhat of a meaningful experience together. And while you're having this meaningful experience, you're not longing for the other experiences that you might be having. In other words, if you're utilizing your life in an effective way, you're attuning to who you are and letting the whole of you have this experience here and now. So that's about the best that we can do with that. And when you are non-physically focused, you'll see from broader view. But even when you have the ability, this is the thing that this wonderful question evokes, and we're so happy to give it to you. Even when you are all that is, and even when you are non-physically focused, and even though you have access to all that is, and you could think about all things, expanding worlds and expanding universes, do you know where Source has its greatest satisfaction in focusing? Right here, right now, in the nitty-gritty of this leading edge expanded experience. In other words, the motion forward is about the new interaction and the new idea that is born. And so that's why when we say scientists and humans have a very scanty view of the breadth and depth of that which even is the human experience. You are so much older than you know, and have had so much more experience than you know. And yet all of it existed for the poignancy of what's exploding right here, right now, on this leading edge.
Thank you.
Yes.
Very much.
Mother will be easier. In some ways.
Okay. My mother made her transition about 1.5 years ago. And since that time, I've been experiencing what I would call a surge of well-being, in that my life, in virtually every area of my life, I'm experiencing more well-being than I ever have. And so in the peak moments of that well-being, I have a sense of being literally flooded with energy and love from her. And what I'm wondering is that what's occurring? And also wanting to know, is there anything that I haven't received from her through communication already that she would like for me to hear today?
Well, there are a number of things that we want to give you about this. And you recall the conversation that we had earlier with our friend who is a healer. And we were describing, and he was agreeing, that he is not necessary for the healing process of others, because in their own exposure to life, they are asking and therefore receiving the energy. So the reason that we're giving this to you in this way is that you don't need a dead mother in heaven arbitrating on your behalf in order to be flooded with well-being. In other words, all of that has been happening all along. You are an extension of source energy, and that feeling that you are describing is literally what the feeling of alignment is when the thoughts that you are thinking are tuned more to the thoughts that are the thoughts of your source. So it isn't that your mother is arbitrating or flooding energy or surrounding you with energy. It is instead that because of her transition and your expectation of her, you are thereby less resistant than before and allowing more of the energy that has always been available to you. It's the best part about our physical friends croaking. We like that disrespectful word, because when someone makes their transition, you almost always turn your attention more to the non-physical aspects of you. And you begin asking more questions that put you in the place of receiving more answers. You're just more tuned to the awareness of the broadness and the totality of your beingness. And so, is your mother aware of you? Absolutely. In other words, we're not for a moment suggesting that her attention to you might not be something that you are recognizing. We're just saying that your mother from non-physical does not have the ability to tweak your vibration and adjust you in any way. That's all you're doing. And anyway, you wouldn't need someone like that to do that for you, because you've got source energy, who is the epitome of all that you have become, that is summoning you forward in that current or stream that we are talking about. So something in the transitioning of your mother has caused you to offer less resistance than you were before, and therefore align with the source energy that is you. And something in the transition may very well have caused you to ask for things in a stronger, more poignant way than before. We want to say this, and we will say it many times here today, that everything that you are living is causing you to cause your own stream to move faster, and everything that you are focusing is causing you to either move with the faster moving stream or not. So you're in charge of all of that.
Yes.
And of course, there is the influence of others. In other words, think about what negative emotion is. Negative emotion is an indicator that you are looking at something in your human form differently than the source energy part of you is looking at it. So negative emotion, the fact that it exists at all, means that there are many things that humans believe, practice thinking, beat the drum of, that source knows to be different than that. So negative emotion, the existence of it, means that there are many thoughts that humans think that source does not join them in the thought. In other words, if source was looking at things the way you're looking at things, then source would be joining you. You would have no feeling of that separation, and there would be no negative emotion. So what we're getting at is that source energy of which your mother is now a part is not ever joining you in any thoughts that are less than what she has become. You got to remember that in her death experience, there is not death, in her croaking experience, in her reemerging into non-physical, she has left behind all resistance and reemerged into that which all that she has lived has caused her to become. So when you focus upon her in that way, you in that moment have that similar experience. In other words, that's the best part of focusing upon those that you love and are consciously aware of who have made their transition into non-physical.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed.
I'm set.
Yes, indeed. And she says that, like always, if she has something to tell you, she'll tell you. And like always, you better listen. You've been trying to sort out everything mentally instead of just dealing with it in terms of an emotional journey. You spend so much time trying to figure out what the human conditions are and evaluating the rightness and the wrongness of them, and then trying to change conditions that you can't change, that it gives you a distorted view of the possibilities of life. But when instead of attempting all of that impossible conditional loving, where you need conditions to change so that you can feel better, instead you just realize that you have the potential right here and now to feel a little better if you will make the effort to do it, and you do feel a little better, before you know it, you'll have such a conscious awareness of this vibrational gap that you will again and again bring yourself into alignment with who you have really become. We know that we've offered those words over and over again today, but there is nothing more important for you to realize than that you are a genius creator in a physical body who is constantly expanding, and you must keep up with you if you want to be joyful. You cannot stand not to keep up with you. And what that means every time is that you're going to love yourself more than hate yourself. It means you're going to love somebody else more than hate them. But it might not be that clear cut of a choice. It might mean that you just have to like yourself a little better and not be quite so mad at yourself. In other words, just do the best that you can from where you are, and let your new mantra be, no matter where I am, no matter what I'm doing, no matter who I'm doing it with, it is my dominant intent to look for the best feeling thought that I can find from where I am. And every day in your book, if you will write dozens of times, whenever you feel negative emotion about a condition, about a government, about a lover, about a child, about a state of being, about a physical condition, no matter what it is, write it down and underline whatever it is, and then just say, what is it that I'm thinking about you that I'm using as my excuse to not let myself be who I am? And when you identify what it is that you're thinking that's got you pointed upstream, and you try to find something that's a little more downstream, you'll feel the relief right then. And do you know that relief and then 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 relief, then relief and then relief, before you know it, you're going with the flow. And as you begin to go with the flow, the universe begins to give you more reason to expect more good things to happen to you. The better it gets, the better it gets, the better it gets, the better it gets. Life is supposed to be good for you, and we know because we've seen what's in your vibrational escrow. We are aware of the source within you, and we can hear the call of source, and we want you to realize that the call of source is going to sound different to you depending upon where you are in the river, but it always feels slightly better than where you are every single time, no exception.